Hi, my name is Harry T, and welcome to Odejuma. Odejuma recognizes the magic of storytelling, from personal experiences to stories of adventure, from tales of resilience to finding joy in the simple things. This story seeks to inspire, entertain, and educate because there is power in the stories of everyday people, and these stories are worth telling. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Odejuma. I'm super excited about my guest today. She is part of, folks doing amazing things in the Twin Cities, from music to Soul of the Southside and the legacy building. I'm happy to have Fancy here. Hi Fancy, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for agreeing to do this. I know this is like a busy time for you. It's like planning for us all at the South Side, so I really appreciate your time. And you just coming through on the podcast. Yeah. And for folks who are listening in who are not very familiar with you and your work, could you just give like a brief intro to who Fancy is for the audience?
Yeah, sure. Well, you said it. My name is Fancy. A brief intro into my work. Well, my work is rooted in creativity and in serving Black folks, my community. Let's see. The root of everything comes from music for me. So I started with performing and singing, and that has sort of been the vehicle that has led me to kind of everything else that I now lead, including my work at the Legacy Building, which is a creative art space in South Minneapolis. It was birthed from the need to expand the way that both me and my husband create. We're the founders together of the Legacy Building. Birthed from the Legacy Building is the festival. It's all of the Southside. So when we celebrated our grand opening back in 2022 of the Legacy Building, Soul of the Southside was like our big final party at the end of our grand opening. And so since then, it has grown. It was really only supposed to be like a one-time event, and the community came up and they showed out. And maybe like a few months later, I was already getting calls saying, "Hey, are you starting the planning? Hey, how can I be a part of it again this year?" And so it has grown ever since, and we are now in our fourth year. Yeah, the work I lead is very much invested in community, creating opportunities for people who look like you and me, and being nurturing in a sense with mentorship. And yeah, just I love to learn and lean into people too. So I learn a lot in this work, and I have a an obsession for growing and learning. So happy to
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
here.
that is good. Thank you for sharing that. And we're gonna take it back a little bit to when did you discover that the creative body, that you had the creative bone? When did that change? When did that spark for you?
Yeah, it sparked for me early, and it's not necessarily a memory that I remember, but it's a memory that my mom oftentimes recalls. And I was only about 3 years old, which is why it's a memory that I don't necessarily remember. But at 3, I definitely knew it. I was in the living room, and she was in the kitchen. My mom was in the kitchen, and she had just folded a bunch of clothes up, and they were in a basket, sitting in the living room, and I was in there listening to music or whatever I was doing. And by the time she came back from doing whatever she was doing in the kitchen, I had unfolded all of the clothes and I was performing for them. I had matched like shirts and pants and socks to, like made like my own little audience. And that's what I told her I did. She was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I'm performing for my audience." And she like couldn't even be mad at it. Like, wow, there's something here. Now, when can I remember that I really, really wanted to do it? I would say maybe when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and being a part of choir at church, being in band at school, there was always something creative that I wanted to do musically for sure. Although I did do some dance and I did some acting and modeling too when I was younger, but I usually went straight running back into the arms of music.
Yeah, and you're in a musical band with your husband. How did that happen? Did y'all start the band when y'all were dating?
Mm.
Or what was that whole, how did that come about, and how's that process been like for you? Because
Yeah.
working with a romantic partner has its challenges also. So how's that experience like for you?
Yeah. So me and my husband, we met at a job. We worked at a call center, AT&T actually, back in 2006, and that's when we first met. And we were friends for a couple of years following that. But when I met him, he was already doing music. He actually, the way we met was he approached me and asked me if I was interested in going to local shows, and he had a flyer to a show that he was promoting that him and a person he was doing music with at the time were promoting. So they were doing together. So that's how we initially met. I had stopped doing music for a while. I became a mother really young. I became a mom when I was 17 years old. And so I experienced a lot of violence in that relationship. And so my focus turned away from music. It was almost like music was something to be jealous of. And so it wasn't something I could do when I was in that relationship. It really pulled me away from it. So when I finally was able to break free from that, and especially again at such a young age, I met E again, like at work, and I had just turned 21. So for him to say that was like, oh my God, like I've just like broken free from this relationship. I'm in this like new job, and it's like a job that pays a lot of good money for the time, at least. Like I was used to making like $7-8 an hour, this is like 2006. So I got this new job. Now there's this new person talking about music, and it wasn't even about attraction. It was about the fact that he had reintroduced something that I was so incredibly passionate about. And from there, like I said, we were just friends. We would go to lunch. We had like mixed CDs, and we would share those, like swap those back and forth. And he was always like, you got good taste in music. I was like, I know, I'm popping. And eventually that blossomed. I was able to be a huge part of his artistic journey when he was just touring and doing things just individually as himself, just as Envy. That's the stage name that he goes by. It wasn't until 2010 that I was like, let me see what I can do now. And I started doing a lot of individual stuff on our own. But then when we collabed on our first album in 2010, it got a really great response. Like there's just our dynamic, and I think our chemistry, the way that we create together is really, really unique, and it's really, really special. So we didn't actually form Illism until 5 years later in 2015. This is where we've been sitting ever since. So 10 years.
That is amazing. And y'all are writing to creating together.
Yes.
What does it mean? What does it mean like to create with your partner, but also work in community? Because your work is very rooted is very community centric. I met you because your work was, you were fellow for the Minnesota Black Collective. So what does that look like for you? Why is it important for both of y'all to have work that is very rooted in community?
It's foundational. He grew up in the Rondo neighborhood, so he's from St. Paul, and I'm from the South Side. So Minneapolis is, my home and where I'm from. It's where I'm still rooted to this day. And it's a huge part of what we do. Even just as Illism, one of the first ways that we involved community was by putting on just shows and inviting different bands and artists to be openers or to be collaborators in those shows, to build shows together. We used to throw events downtown at a venue called Elixir. And then I think it was eventually renamed into a bunch of other things, but it's right next door to Fine Line, the old space. We used to throw shows in there all the time, and it had always been about how can we build and how can we create community. I know a lot of people feel like everything is very siloed here. I hear that often, that people are very siloed and it's very cliquish, but I don't know. It's like the world that I operate in. It's because I'm always trying to create community and create opportunity for people. So I always feel like that's just all that there is. And I think that's why we continue to build the way that we build, is because we know that community is so possible because we're already doing it. And it's foundational. It's foundational. It's the reason legacy building came to be. And it's the reason Soul of the Southside continues the way that it does, is because it's a huge part of our relationship, and our connection is in serving people. And so that's how we
That
tie
is
it up.
that is pretty cool. I really like that. I was also on the South Side in 2023 and 2024. Had a great time. It was just nice to be around so many Black folks in the city, and just having a good time. Lots of nice vendors, lots of cool art. great music from all genres. And so I think that is really something dope that y'all are doing. And I really love that a lot. I want to ask about like the legacy building, because I feel like that is something that is very important for creatives of, especially for black creatives specifically, who access is just is a struggle, right? Access to resources, access to physical space to create and to be creative. So talk us through the inspiration behind the legacy building and what you envision is the future of the legacy building. Yeah.
Yeah. The legacy building was just birthed out of our need for access. So we actually shot a music video in Las Vegas for a song that we have called Simple Shit. And it was in this really, really cool, like, garage sort of warehouse space. They had like a bunch of like LED lights on like a wall, and they were designed super cool. If you go watch our music video for Simple Shit, you'll be able to see like the really cool stuff that they had in there. And it was really inspiring to eat, actually. And a lot of his work is also rooted in preserving and telling stories from the people in our community too. He does a lot of video and photography work with a lot of the nonprofits and creatives in our city too, and helping to share and tell their stories. And so he kind of said out loud, like, I need something like this. I need a production studio that's like this, where I can bring clients to, and it can also be a space that we can use for our own creative endeavors. And I was like, yeah, cool. Let's try it out. Let's see what happens. And we shot our music video. We came home, and maybe like a month or two later, we were driving, or actually he was driving on his way to go pick up some coffee one morning. And we just at the time, we lived just a couple blocks from where the legacy building is located. And there was a sign in the window that said it was available. It had been Solsta Records. And before that, it was a consignment shop for many, many, many decades called the Pink Closet. And we had never actually seen it empty before then. And so he called the phone number. We went and we looked at it, and it was tore up. And I was like, oh, hell no. And he was like, well, just give it a second. Sometimes I want everything to be, sometimes I just want things to be turnkey. Like I don't want to do the work, but there is something to putting in the labor and not always just having things just ready and laid out for you. You need the process. Trust and believe you need the process. So we were like, okay, well, what is this going to be? And we knew that we wanted a production studio because that's where the dream was founded on. But then we said, but we need a rehearsal space. Like, we can't just keep going out to, a member in our band, his name is Mike. We can't keep going out to Edina to go to Mike's house and practice in his living room. Like, we need a space to rehearse. Let's put a rehearsal space in here. It's like, we started thinking about the things that we needed as creatives, because we knew if we needed it, someone else was going to need it. Is storefront space, gallery space. There's a recording studio. I mean, it really speaks to, honestly, all of the different hats that he and I both also wear. I mean, I do the graphic design as well. I do web design. So it's a space that allows me to maintain those sort of creative ventures as well. But when we kind of got down to the root of it, the new root of it, I should say, or the new root that grew from what was kind of already there, was to center Black community. We started to really start to sit back and think, like, remember that one time we went to this venue, or we had this experience with these people, and it was just like, they just couldn't understand what we were trying to do. They didn't want to give us a chance. They're like, rap, hip hop, oh my gosh, no, you can't come in here. There's going to be some shootout probably. And it's like, man, if only you knew. Like, could you just give our song a listen? Could you just give it a try? Like, who do we need to have vouch for us? And sometimes it's just, you need your people to just be the ones that you are in community with. Sometimes we just need each other. And so we said, hey, we are going to ensure that the space is accessible for all, but the priority here is Black people, as Black creatives, Black-led organizations and entrepreneurs that experience the same type of roadblocks and obstacles that we have been facing, because we're the same. We're after the same things, we're experiencing the same things. It's a Black lived experience. And so the legacy building formed from that. And for the past almost 4 years now, community has made it into what it is. It's the community's hands that say, hey, we need this, so then we do it. Or we need opportunity to create these types of experiences. Can we do it there? the building continues to mold and form. A lot of the time people walk in and are like, oh my God, you did this in here. Now every time I come here, something's different. And it is. It feels like home. It feels like, when you want to move your living room around or you want to, feng shui the bedroom, a little bit different. Legacy building is that, because people need the creative freedom to create. And for Black people, especially, our creativity is a way to our liberty and our freedom. Man, that brings so much joy, and that's the reason for the season of the legacy building.
And it's really good to know that communities responding really well to the building, that it is becoming something that is very important to them. That is so good to know.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what if, say, someone is curious about wanting to use the space. I know there was a creative fund that y'all put out recently, but like for a young, independent Black creative in the Twin Cities that's looking for a space, how can the legacy building help them with their work or their art, basically?
Sure. So the legacy building is a multi-level space, and it's pretty modular, meaning that you can pretty much move things around. There's not a whole lot of dedicated, like you have to keep this here, unless we're talking about the art on the walls or like the recording booth, like things that just can't be moved, or they are there for a reason. But for the most part, it's a wide open space that has an incredible vibe because of the art and the contributions that community has made to it. We got all the plants, we got all of that. And so it's really available for whatever the creative need is. If you're someone who says, I'm trying to grow my business and I want to host, a pop-up event to get community access to my products or my services, you might be a teacher or yoga instructor and you're like, I just need a space to be able to host, this 6-week course. Like, how can I do that? Do you have space? Do you have access? The answer is yes. It isn't even just about you do music or you need, to film or, do something like that. We've had all kinds of things in there. We've had cake decorating in there. We've had fashion shows there. We've even had weddings inside of the legacy building. And we do have a special fund. You mentioned it just a little bit ago, called the Creative Freedom Fund. And the Creative Freedom Fund was established because there were lots of artists and creatives and organizations too that would approach us about accessing our space, and they would be just out of budget. And because we want to remain accessible, we work with people and their budgets. That doesn't mean we're going to give, away everything for free, but we understand that being a creative is hard financially. So we make it accessible. We say, yes, through the Creative Freedom Fund, we can provide space in kind for your artistic needs. And especially if you're doing something that's going to be ongoing, that's going to be enriching for the community. Now, when we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about access, but we also need to sustain. So like I said, we just can't give everything away. So through the Creative Freedom Fund, what it's allowing us to do is to collect information from the community. Hey, this authors group needed the space to do this. This particular individual had a writing workshop. They needed 6 weeks to do this. They got no's everywhere else because places were asking for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 just, for space for, 2 hours on a Saturday, once a month. And the community is telling us they need this, and we are creating the space to make it accessible. So in order for us to sustain, we can say, here goes the need of the community. And then we can go back out to our funders. We can go back out to the people who are investing into the legacy building and say, hey, look, we just supported in kind all of these, different projects and workshops and community oriented and enriching events. Please sustain and pour into what we're doing. We love to do that type of work. I get a thrill out of being able to do that type of work. Like I said, I'm really obsessed with growing and seeing things progress. And so if that means that we can create a program like the Creative Freedom Fund that supports artists with space in kind, and then we can show that to our investors and the people who invest in the legacy building, who should be investing into creatives, and who should be investing into spaces that support creatives and that also sustain our ecosystem. We need that. And the Black community, the Black creative community especially needs that. So what can you do? You can do just about anything if you go online and you go to the Creative Freedom Fund application on our website, legacybuilding.org, thelegacybuilding.org. You just fill out the application. It's revolving. It doesn't like work between, a certain date and you got to have it in by a certain date. It's completely revolving. If there's an individual or a group, an artist group, a nonprofit that needs access to creative space to host, to create, to have the freedom to do what they need to do, and it's in full alignment with our mission, then we have the support and we have the access, and that's what we're here for. Yeah.
Yeah. The work that y'all are doing is trying to make art accessible to creatives. And I feel like there's something that we find in like art spaces or in creative spaces is that everything is just, we want to create, want to do things, but the resources aren't there. They're not accessible. Why is it important for creativity to be accessible? Because I feel like when the people are creating, you know, the culture keeps evolving and the culture keeps moving. And I feel like the Twin Cities is in a very like sweet spot right now with how creative folks are being, and how the creative community keeps growing every year.
Mhm.
But in the midst of growth, we have to make it more accessible for people to be able to get in and also create too. So why is that also very important for us to do?
Well, like you mentioned, it keeps moving culture forward if we're being specific. But yeah, it keeps moving culture forward. If you look around you, everything in your room had to be created by somebody. So if we care about electronics, then we care about that TV behind you being made. If we care about even like your lighting fixtures, like someone was in a studio somewhere blowing glass to create our light fixtures. It's all creation. We were created to create. I was created to create. Even people who think that they don't create, they're like, oh no, I'm just so bland. I can't do anything. It's like, well, you did your hair. You thought about that. You put your outfit on. You chose your car. Like you knew what color car you wanted, that sort of thing. And it's because creativity is all around us. And for some reason, there's sometimes this idea that creativity is only for a specific type of like artsy fartsy individual who might be naming what they do creatively, like I'm a ceramic artist, or I do interpretive dance, or I do films, and I'm a director. Like sure, we can name those things, and when we put a name on them, and it's like, you're a creative. But in actuality, we're all creatives. We're all trying to express ourselves. We're all trying to push our own narratives or our own agendas forward, whether that's in a small sense, like within our families. Sometimes we're creating babies, and we're trying to extend the lineage, and we're we have me and E, we have a 4-year-old. And so right now it's all about like our rituals and like doing things, at a certain time. Like it's 8 o'clock, we got to go to bed. If he's up for 30 more minutes, he's going to be crazy. But it's like creating those schedules and knowing how to like sustain your family. It's creativity is essential to our survival as humans. And if we aren't creating something, then what are we doing? I think we're kind of just like sitting there, kind of like blinking our eyes. We aren't being our true full selves if we aren't creating. And so it's important to pour into creativity, because that's what keeps us moving and going and pushing forward.
That's pretty amazing. You brought up something I wanted to touch on. I know you touched on it earlier a little bit about being like a parent, and just managing your parenting and your artistic endeavor. What is that dynamic like for you? Are your kids having the need to want to be in the creative space too? What is that looking like for you?
Yeah. So we're a blended family. So he has a daughter, Imari. She's from a previous relationship, and she's my daughter. She's my daughter too, but biologically that's Imari is E's daughter. And then I biologically have 2 kids that are mine too. Santino, who is my oldest, he's 21. And then Sire, who is the child that me and E have together, and he is 4. As far as I can see it, just like I see in everybody got a little creative bone in them. For Imari, she not only she's just this incredibly beautiful individual, both inside and out. She has a passion for food and cooking. She's always had that. She was always trying to bake and like cook and, find different ways to express herself through her cooking. And she still does. She even has an Instagram page where you can go and you can watch her put together these dishes that look and are really, really delicious. She's also like the makeup boss, let me show you my routine. She has those types of videos too. So she's definitely tapping into that world, and she does a really, really, really good job at it. Santino, he's 21. He is into being creative right now. I think his biggest outlet is video gaming, but he is a visual artist. If you go to the Legacy building and you go to the arcade that's in the lower level of the space, all the pictures that are up in the arcade space were done by him. And he is an incredible visual artist. He also is an actor. He was in several plays when he was in high school, and he still pursues, acting opportunities if they present themselves. So he's in that world, and he's a great singer as well. So theater very much pulled music out of him too. Sire, he's on fire. He is our fiery little spirit. Imari is just so, she's like, she's the girl's girl. She's praying for everybody. She's like that type of person. Santino, he's like laid back, cool, I'm cool, mom. I'm kicking it, I'm chilling. And he has a great, funny personality. But Sire, he is on fire. He is a fiery personality. He wants to do everything. He has a drum kit. He has a keyboard. He has Play-Doh. He has coloring. He wants to do it all. But I feel like they all do at that age. Everything is so, and he just used to be amazed seeing planes in the sky. Things that are just so like small to us, like, yeah, I wish I was on it. They're probably going someplace nice. That's like what we all say, like, wonder where they going. But to him, it's
Yeah.
like, there's a thing flying in the sky. Like, do you see this, mom? So he's so tapped in to nature. He tells plants that he loves them. I feel like he was sent to be a, a generational change maker in our family and have a
That's
huge,
beautiful.
huge impact. And I'm excited to see where this goes. And I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that even E and I know ourselves so much more with the age and maturity that we're at right now too. And so we just got this fiery individual with so much spirit and joy and just big eyes for the world. And so it's going to be great to see where he goes creatively.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate that. I will be remiss if I don't tell you congratulations, 40 under 40.
Thank you.
The Minnesota St. Paul Business Journal. That is amazing. How you feeling about that?
It's actually, I was in shock. I posted the video of me finding out, and I'm like, dance. I'm like, hey, because that's just my personality. But honestly, in complete shock. We attended the 40 Under 40 Awards in 2024. We were there actually filming for another recipient who was receiving an award, and we were just the camera crew. But I was like, I'm going to get me one of those. Watch, I'm going to get me one. And, spoke it right into existence. And, you're sitting in a room with people who work for these really big, organizations and corporations like 3M and Wells Fargo and Target and Best Buy. And I mean, it's big. And here I am. I'm just grassroots. We in the community. We kicking back and we chilling and we vibing. Like, and y'all I was chosen. And it speaks so many volumes to the work that I do, because sometimes we think you have to operate at such a high level in order to feel like you're doing something. And honestly, props to the people who are working in those higher positions and dealing with, $1 million budgets and, manufacturing and things that also contribute to the overall global success of Earth, I guess you could say. But when you really get down to the grassroots and you are in it and you in the thick of it with the people, like, you can be at 3M making, $200,000-$300,000 an hour. But when you go home, are you like in home in like your cul-de-sac, like just kicking back, like at your crib with like just your family, and you go fishing on the weekends and you go traveling during the summer? How are you maintaining your connection to community? And I think that's why for me, the community for me is like the center of it. And so it's incredible to be honored, and it's a huge honor to be recognized for our work and for the work that I lead and for the individuals who support me in that work. When we were at the ceremony, I brought an entire table of all Black women with me, because it's mostly non-Black people at these awards. Everyone came to our table. We were the most lit table, of course. We had so much fun, so much great conversation. When I got up on stage to get my award, the screaming and the yelling, and it was just like, we're here. And it took so many incredible, amazing Black women to help me and nurture me and get me to where I am. And they too are individuals that work at such grassroots level. Like, just Black women are the backbone. And so to be able to uplift them in that space too was an incredible incredible honor because they are some movers and some shakers who are doing incredible work that our community also has access to. And it was saying that statement too, like, y'all have access to these women. Please, please, please tap in, see who they are, let's celebrate the work that we all do collectively as well.
What is your hope for the future of the creative scene in the Twin Cities? Like, where do you, in like 10, 15 years, where do you want it to be at?
Yeah. I want there to be a really strong ecosystem here for for us to be able to tap into. I want to be a part of building um and being a contributor to that ecosystem. There are so many Black-owned spaces and movers and shakers that are, 15 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, and so on, so far up. And collaboration is so key. You go alone, you might get there quick, but boy, will you go farther if we can go together. And that has been my experience in everything. The festival grows because there's more collaborative effort year after year. If this was all just riding on, me and E, it'd be kind of rough. But I envision this beautiful ecosystem where people recognize their part, that they don't have to be it. They are a part of it. And when you're a part of the history, when you're a part of the story and a part of the narrative, and you operate in the lane that you're the most strongest in, you're the most confident in, then we can like join arms and be like, let's do this together. And there already is so much of that I'm witnessing just from where we're at, today. So 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, if this continues the way that I am experiencing it from my end, then is one limit, but it's not even a limit. What is that line in Mean Girls? There isn't a limit. There's not a limit, or whatever she says when she's at the math thing, and the limit doesn't exist. I said, limit doesn't exist, and it doesn't. It's such a profound moment. That Katie, and I love that movie. It's like you all's generation of my Clueless, but the limit doesn't exist. And honestly, whoever is wanting to make the contribution and really be a part of it, like I said, I feel like that is the dream. The dream is this beautiful ecosystem with tons of collaborative effort to keep moving things forward. I feel like the machine has always been growing, and this place is really truly at a sweet spot where, before the uprisings in 2020, it wasn't like this. I was a creative, and I was, out here pushing the scene and, trying to do our thing, just as illism or, just pursuing different creative endeavors. What we are experiencing right now in 2025 is vastly different than what it looked like in 2019. And so if in just this small, short year spans 5, 6 years or so, I am really excited if we can continue this, minding our own business. We don't got to be LA. We don't got to be New York. We don't got to be Atlanta. We don't got to be Houston and Miami. We just got to be us. And us is good. Us is fantastic. Us is like, we are like, that is, we are the thing, that's it. So we can do it. We got it.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And are there any like dreams and things that you're still like looking forward to like achieving as a creative?
Yes, actually. So I'm in the middle of writing my first children's book. Yes. So I have a children's book that I'm working on. It's a story about a child who sees the world through this really imaginative set of eyes, and they are attempting to build a fort, which I feel like we all have done at some point in our childhood, trying to build a space that feels like our own, that we can crawl into and be imaginative or color in, or just to be like, look what I did, mom, or look what I did, grandma, or invite the cousins over so they can come over and hang out in the fort. I want to sleep in the fort. I want to have my food in the fort. So it's about the challenges that the character faces when trying to build this fort, and what resources are around them, making their connection to animals and watching what animals do to solve problems. What does the wind do? How does water move through the creeks and bend over curves and don't let nothing stop it or get in its way? It just goes with the flow. So it's going to be a great, great story. I'm working with a really awesome illustrator Uzo. Uzo, she's local to the Twin Cities here and does a lot of really dope work. Uzo has a short film that she's working on too, that's tied back to her roots as well, and experiencing going to a Nigerian funeral for like the first time. And it's this really cool thing. And immediately when I saw her work, and she had inboxed us regarding the legacy building and accessing the space for something she was dreaming up at the time, we just stayed connected. And I was like, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to continue working with and uplifting, Black women, but an opportunity for my work to grow too. So yes, there is a children's book coming. Probably be in a position to announce what that is at the end of the summer, because we'll have a lot more of our illustrations. We're like in the illustration portion of it now, so everything's been written, so we're just kind of illustrating now, but it's going to be very, very, very exciting to have.
That is pretty exciting. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So congratulations, and also to check out Uza's work too. I'm sure it will be pretty dope because I'm Nigerian too, so it would be nice
Okay. Yes.
to see what the Nigerian creatives are doing in the Twin Cities. So I'm
Yeah.
down for that for sure. Before we wrap up, we're gonna do a little fun like trivia section just to know like
Okay.
a couple of things about you. So
Sure.
the first one is, what are the top 3 songs on your playlist right now?
Oh, okay. I have to look at my phone so I can tell you. Because I want to make sure I do this right.
Okay.
What are my top 3 songs? Okay, that has to be. I'm just gonna go and be like, what have I been playing? Okay, so one song I have been playing non-stop
Okay.
is Sade. Do you know who Sade is?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Lovers Rock, I've been
Hmm.
playing that nonstop. So that's in my top right now. Honestly, anything Beyonce, not picking one
Okay.
song, but anything Beyonce, you got me.
I love Beyonce, so I'm with you right
I
there.
know.
Yeah.
I seen you at the concert, and I was incredibly excited to see you there, because I'm like, I can't wait for my turn. I'm going to see her for my 40th birthday on
Oh,
July 14th in Atlanta, and I
that's gonna be a good show. I'm hoping I can go again. I'm hoping I can go again too to the
okay,
Atlanta show actually. So fingers crossed. Hopefully
yeah,
the universe will work its magic. But
yes,
yeah,
yes,
it's a
yes.
great show. You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, honestly,
Yeah.
anything Beyonce, even if you were like, what's the top 3 things in your timeline, Beyonce? She's the person that I study. I study, and people be like, "Are you in the Beehive?" I'd be like, "No, the Beehive is for the crazy people, the people who like to avenge, and I'm the Beyonceologist. Like, I know lots of things. I follow. I study. I deepen my connection with this woman who don't even know my name. She will one day. I pray
Hmm.
she know my
Hmm.
name one day." I had a dream one time that me and Beyonce, I was trying on Beyonce's Oscar dresses. She invited me into her closet in my dream, and she was like, come try on my dresses, and I did, and we ran around her house in her dresses, and it was fantastic. So I just feel like it's time to meet her
From your
one
dreams to God's ears,
day.
it can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So as far as music, I say Sade, anything Beyonce, and then let's see, we know Kendrick Lamar, Man in the Garden. That's like my this year, that is like my soundtrack. That's the song that represents me right now in 2025 this year. I feel like where I have come from, and the challenges, there's so many challenges that I have faced, even just the last like several years. And being able to come out on top and to keep going and pushing forward. Kendrick Lamar's Man in the Garden is a song I got on repeat for show. The whole entire
Okay.
time that I was getting ready for 40 Under 40, that was on repeat.
Okay. Cool. Good. That's a good one. That's a good one too. What is the TV show you would recommend to anybody who asks you for a recommendation?
Ooh, okay. Ooh, just one.
Okay, give me.
I'll give you three. Okay. One, I would say Ozarks. That's one
Okay.
that I have gone back and watched lots of times. It's a great movie about a family who does money laundering and things like that. They're trying to get themselves out of a problem that they're in. But Marty, he's the husband in this particular show. And I forget the character that, or the actor that plays him, but he's a banker, like an accountant, and he's really good at money, and he knows how to launder. And it's a great show just overall if you're into that type of thing. I would also say right now we're watching this new show called Government Cheese.
Mm,
Yeah, it's so if you're tapped into like Apple TV and like watching shows through Apple TV and like their platform, it's on there. It's about this black man who just got out of prison because he was forging checks. And
okay.
while he was in prison, he created an invention that is later called the magic. It's a drill. It's a self-sharpening drill. So you can drill, and then when the bit gets bad, it can go inside and like like resharpen itself. So it makes production time and production floors because it's based in like the 60s, I think. 60, yeah, it's based in like the 50s, 60s era. Great for production if you're working on like a production floor where you're using, drills and drill bits. But he just cannot seem to stay away from the previous life. The other really mind bending show I got to mention is a show called Severed. It's also on Apple TV. And Severed is a show about a group of employees they work at, I don't even know what it is.
Oh, is this Severance?
Yeah, it's not like they don't really like at a fast, it's like this like office space. Have you watched Severed?
Yeah, it's Severance, right? But
Severance, yeah, Severance.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I've
Yes.
seen like clips from it. Yeah.
Okay, yes. And so they all opted in to have a brain surgery where they sever a portion of the brain so that when they're at work, they only know work. They don't know their life outside of work at all. And then when they leave work, they go in an elevator that kind of triggers the chip in their brain to turn on their at home life. And they don't know anything that they do at work. They only know that they're always at home. So when they're at home, it feels like they're always at home. And when they're at work, it feels like they're always at work. And then it kind of disassociates their personalities too, because when they're at work, some of them are happy and they love being at work. When they go home, they're like super depressed, or their marriages are falling apart, or they have really hard trouble finding love. And even one of the employees who ends up getting severed is actually the founder's daughter of this place that they work at. But it's just very mind bending. It's so incredibly good. So if you're really into like mind bending, like make you think and be like, oh, I'm not severed, but this is kind of what happens to us.
Mm.
Sometimes we kind of, tunnel vision into our work and nothing else matters and we can't see anything else. And we sometimes do become completely individuals when we go to work and when we're doing something else in comparison to what we do when we are at home, and being able to use our work as a distraction. And so it kind of like layers in those things, but it has a great storyline, and I would recommend. I highly, highly, highly would recommend.
Okay, okay. I'll have to check that out. You're
Yeah.
like the third person recommending it to me, so I'll have to watch that. What is the restaurant you recommend to someone who is just visiting the Twin Cities for the first time? And you're like, you have to go here to eat.
Have to go here to eat. Let's see here. Okay. One place I would recommend for sure is the Dripping Root. So if you're looking for a place that has like smoothie bowls and fresh juice and, just really good whole food, black owned, support black woman owned, would be the Dripping Root. They're on the south side. They're just off of
Okay.
40th and Minnehaha Avenue. So definitely stop by and support the Dripping Root. It's everything that Katisha has is good. All of it is good. There's never not one thing that's not good. And she and her mom operate the Dripping Root. But yeah, it's right there
Okay.
on 40th and Minnehaha on the south side.
Okay.
Let's see, where
I'll
else
check
would
it
I tell
out.
people to go? I would tell people to go to I would tell people to go to Kaluna.
I
Kaluna.
love Kelowna.
Okay, so period.
I love Kelowna. Oh my god, I love Kelowna. Okay,
Yeah, no,
cool.
Kaluna is so good, and they have a brunch now, and I'm really dying to try it. So yeah, definitely Kaluna. See a third. Let me see a third. I'm trying to think of like places like we're like, oh yeah, we just have to go there. Everything I'm thinking of, it's like, yeah, that's good, but that's not it. That's not like you have to go there. Let me
Yeah.
see. You give me one. Where's one that you have to go to?
I would have said Kaluna too, because I
Oh,
really
okay.
like Kaluna. I do like classics. It's black
Okay.
owned.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I like it specifically for the crab boiled wings.
I
I
got
swear
you.
by it. It is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
Their sweet potato soup, their sweet potato curry soup is actually really good too.
Yeah.
Britt and Gerard do their thing over there. They also have the Cream Cafe next door, and then Sobol
Yeah.
over at. Have you gone to Sobol too over there at the V?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's at the V3 now. Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 Okay. Where is your dream travel destination? Where do you have to go to?
Oh, I just have to go somewhere on the continent, somewhere on Africa. It don't even matter where. Drop me. Just drop me wherever. If I could just parachute out and wherever I land, that's where like I'm at. And that's where the experience is happening. Cool. Let's start there and let's work our
Okay.
way around. But there's something about just discovering roots. And one thing too, I've been having to unravel uncomfortably. I'm an obvious mixed race person, but I identify Black. And I say uncomfortably unravel the European, Scandinavian side of myself. And it's uncomfortable because of the trauma that white people have inflicted upon Black people. And so you're just like, I'm siding with I'm over here. I'm over here with these people. And what that does psychologically sometimes to you is it makes you feel confident and strong in one part, but then it's like there's like this lingering thing, and it's not necessarily an identity crisis, but it's like this lingering thing. And how do you create space to feel connected to it and aligned with it? Because it's a big part of me too. I have Sardinian in me and Melanesian, and I have a little bit of Danish in me as well. And so it's like, unraveling those different cultures. I don't have to focus for them. Didn't start at slavery either, right? So everything about me didn't just start at slavery. The white people bring in the African enslaved people, and for the African enslaved people, it didn't start there with them either. So I have to give that honor and that privilege to both sides. And so I have been diving in, and I would really, really love to visit Sardinia too. It's a small island just off of the coast of Italy. And then obviously Fiji, where a lot of the Melanesian people come from too, would be another great spot to live. But it's been a trip really unraveling what it all means culturally for me. So if anything, I want to visit the places where my DNA comes from.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And finally, what is your guilty pleasure?
Besides 2 Chains, guilty pleasure. Oh, I'm a sweets girl. I love chocolate. I love chocolate cake. Yeah,
I
that's
like a
it.
nice chocolate cake that is moist in the middle. Chocolatey is my kind of chocolate cake. Yeah.
Yes. And I also really like I love to go to like chocolate shops like specialize in like chocolate. I've been really wanting to go to the I believe it's in an Afghanistan chocolate place. They have like Turkish delight, and they have like all these different types of chocolates and stuff up in there.
Mm.
I really want to try it, and I haven't gone there yet. But yeah, no, I love chocolate.
Cool, cool. Shout out
Definitely.
to that. Finally, I want to ask you, what do you want your legacy to be in 10, 15, 20 years when for your kids, when you've left the earth? What do you want to be remembered for and by?
Oh, what do I want to be remembered for? Oh my goodness, I had never really given that any thought. I suppose just for the contribution, I don't really do it for accolades, so it's hard to not look at it as an accolade because it's not necessarily an accolade, like being remembered for something. But I want people to know that I treated them with kindness, that I was fair, that I listened, that I held space, that there wasn't, a whole lot of, judgment in the way that I sat in space with people. I want my children to feel like my mom created community for me. I got lots of extra aunties and cousins because my mom did a lot of great work in the community and nurtured and sustained these relationships that now uplift and support them and hopefully their kids, my grandkids, and so on and so forth. I really just want to make the South Side a better place. I'm really invested in the place that I come from. South Minneapolis is where I was born. It's what raised me. So if I can just see this place just continue to evolve and to get better and to honor culture and to honor the people who live here and who make this place what it is, then I feel like that's the key right there. Just for my peace, and just for the way that it evolved and the joy that it brought people.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your story and your journey. And, I really appreciate the work that you do, the work you and your husband are doing to foster community, especially among Black folks in the Twin Cities. I just
Yeah.
create space for us to just thrive and be excited about the South Side. I'm going to be there this year. So yeah, folks, if you're listening, come through to still on the South Side. Details will be in the description box. It's gonna be a great time. Trust me, I've been twice and I had a great time.
Yeah. great,
So,
great time.
yeah. Thank you, Fancy. And thanks, y'all.
Having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And
you.
thank you all for listening. This is Odejuma.